Good morning, students. Today we'll be doing this activity in our maths rotation. We will be looking at probability, and we will all be taking a turn on the smartboard to play this game. So this particular question asks, pulling a yellow bear is, and then we have to find out whether it is equally likely, unlikely, likely, impossible, or certain. So looking at this one, we can count one, two, three, four, 5 bears and 1 yellow marble. Now they're all yellow, but they're different objects. So the question is, pulling a yellow bear is equally likely, unlikely, likely, impossible, or certain. Now, is it certain that we can pull a yellow bear? Well, there is 1 marble in there, so no, it is not certain. Is it impossible to pull a yellow bear out of the bag? Well, there are 5 bears in the bag, so it is not impossible. Is it equally likely to pull a bear out of the bag as a marble? So when we see the word equal, that gives us an indication that there would be the same amount of bears as there is to marbles. Is there the same amount of bears and the same amount of marbles? No, so it's not equally likely because there are 5 bears and only 1 marble. Is it unlikely that we would pull a bear out of the bag? Well, because there are more bears in the bag than the marble, that would mean there is a greater chance of pulling a bear out of the bag. So that means that it is not unlikely because there is more chance of pulling a bear out of the bag because there is a greater number. So the answer must be likely. It is likely that we would pull a bear out of the bag instead of the marble because there are more bears in the bag. Let's see if we're right. Great work. Let's do one more and then we can go and work on our own. So pulling an octagon is, so when we have a look in the bag, we can see that there are only bears in the bag. So let's count the bears. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bears in the bag. So when we have a look at the problem of pulling an octagon out of the bag, is it equally likely that we will pull an octagon out of the bag? Well, there are no octagons in the bag. To be equally likely, it would have to have the same amount of bears as it does octagons. Is it unlikely that we could pull an octagon out of the bag? Well, to be unlikely, there is still a possibility that you could pull an octagon out of the bag. But there are no octagons in the bag, so it is not unlikely. Is it likely that you could pull an octagon out of the bag? To be likely, there would have to be more octagons than bears. But we can see that there are 6 bears in the bag and no octagons. So it is not likely. Is it certain to pull an octagon out of the bag? Well, there are only 6 bears in the bag and no octagons. So you cannot pull an octagon out of the bag. It is not certain, because there would be, to be certain, there would only be octagons in the bag and no bears. So the answer must be, it is impossible to pull an octagon out of the bag because there are no octagons in the bag. Let's see if we're right. Great work. Now, when you have your turn in your rotation, there will be another problem for you to solve, and I'd like for you to work through the problems just like we have now.